So I don't think it's any big secret that I've experimented with a lot of drugs in my life. And I wish the proper word to use was actually experiment, but in reality, I wasted 14 years of my life being a drug addict. I gave away 14 years of my life because I thought doing drugs sounded like a better idea than living a productive life. Um, my drug of choice has always been downers, specifically opiates, more specifically heroin. I was never much into the speed scene, although I've pretty much done every single drug there is. But today I don't live that life. Um, it's been a long time since I've had like full transparency. I smoke weed. I keep it at just smoking weed. I don't want to like go on here and pretend like I'm 100% sober because I'm not. I've never really had a thing for drinking, so I'm not into that, but I do smoke weed. I have major anxiety. It helps with my anxiety. I feel like it's a much better replacement than taking benzos like Xanax and Klonopin and all that stuff. So I don't know. That's just me. It's working for me. Might not work for everyone, but people are gonna judge, so it is what it is. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was the scariest drug trip of my life. The most scared I ever was taking a drug, and I think everyone knows what tripping is. I don't think I need to explain that. That comes from one of the psychedelic drugs. There was LSD, mushrooms, peyote. Those are like the three most popular ones. But also, back in the day when I was about 18, so this would have been like 14, 15 years ago, there was this legal product, 100% legal, as in you could go into like any head shop and buy it. I think even Hot Rag sold it, and it was called salvia. And what salvia was, it was this crazy fucking plant. It kind of looked like really shitty marijuana. Like it came like ground up marijuana. And like it came in like different extract amounts. Like it came in like 5x, 10x, 20x, 40x, like all these different types of potencies or whatever. So me and my friends like hear about this throughout high school or something. Like people are talking about it, and we're like, man, we gotta try this stuff. And I had never tried any psychedelic drug in my life at this point. Um, the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life was I had smoked weed probably 30 or 40 times and gotten drunk maybe a dozen times. That was about it. So as far as the drug scene, I was pretty much a newbie. And man, I had no idea what I was walking into. So anyways, so we drive into Chicago and we go to this head shop called Secrets. It's this upscale head shop in the up northern part of Chicago, a real nice part. It's this really nice head shop, like all these fancy, like huge, beautiful bowls and bongs, like bongs that cost like thousands and thousands of dollars. Just like who would have the money to buy this stuff? And then in the corner, they have like all the rolling papers and like all of the like peripherals that would go along with the smoking etiquette. And next to all that, they have these little like disc-like things that are labeled salvia, and it's like they're in these like little hockey pucks, and they only came with like I think a half an ounce or a half a gram or a gram of salvia, a gram of like this grounded powder in it, like grounded up weed. And we're like, well, this stuff is legal, so it really probably isn't gonna do anything. We're thinking it'd be like the equivalent of like, I don't know, like going to like a kava bar or like an oxygen bar, just like really more of what is it, like a placebo effect. Really, we're thinking this is gonna do absolutely nothing. So we end up buying the 40 extracted, the 40x salvia, which was like the highest one they had. I think it was like $30 for the gram. So we buy that. Wait, we also had to buy like a little cheap, stupid metal bowl to smoke it out of because like I was such a newbie to the like drug scene. I didn't even have my own bowl yet. This is like how innocent I was back then. And we jump in my car, and like I want to try this out right away. And I had driven us there, but I was like, hey, I'm not gonna say my friend's name because I don't think it matters, but whatever. We'll say his name was Ben. I was like, hey Ben, you're driving. I threw him the keys, and I jumped in the passenger seat, and I packed that bowl up so fast of this mystery powder, this salvia. I couldn't wait to smoke it and experience what I was assuming was probably going to be nothing. So I go ahead and spark up this bowl. I take probably a good 3 hits off of it, and I start coughing out my lungs. Like I feel like I'm going to die. And all of a sudden, I start feeling this craziest tingling feeling. And it started feeling like my whole body is just soaking wet. And then all of a sudden, our entire car just lifts off the street, crashes into a fire hydrant, and we're just floating on top of the water underneath the fire hydrant. And I'm just looking at my buddy, and he's just laughing at me, and I'm just pounding on the dashboard, screaming. I'm like, dude, you crashed the car, you crashed the car. And then 10 seconds later, I come to, and we're just sitting at a stoplight. Like I had just hallucinated this entire event of a car crashing and everything. And like for people that have never done psychedelics, like the common misconception about them is that like when you take acid or mushrooms or like peyote, you're gonna see like crazy pink elephants like coming through the walls, and like crazy caterpillars smoking pipes are gonna talk to you like some Alice in Wonderland shit. And that really couldn't be farther from the truth. But when it comes to salvia, that's a pretty dead-on explanation of what happens. And that trip wasn't even the scariest one. That was just like me dipping my toe in the water. So we get back home, and I'm a little shook up from this like newfound fucking crazy drug that we have, but I'm still intrigued, and my impulsivity gets the best of me, and I want to go for round two. So we get to my buddy's house, and we go in his basement, and I pack up another bowl of this stuff. And now I pack this bowl up like way fatter. I probably put like 3 times the amount in, and I took like 4 or 5 of the biggest hits I possibly could, held them in as long as possible. And I started getting that tingly feeling again, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And I shit you not, I just started warping through dimensions. Like, I don't even really know how to describe what happened, but it was like all of a sudden, everything I was looking at just like turned into like blocks, like Legos or building blocks. And then it was as if like the floor had split open, and I was falling through the floor. And as I fell through the floor, I came out into like another dimension, and then all of a sudden I'm somehow my parents' kitchen countertop. Let me say that again. I somehow turned into I somehow turned into an inanimate object. That's how fucked up this ridiculous once legal drug was. It has the ability to warp your brain to think that life doesn't exist, and when you're in this transformation, time has absolutely no meaning. I mean, the whole trip of salvia probably only lasts maybe 2-3 minutes tops, but time is absolutely meaningless in this type of headspace. And I just remember just feeling just absolute dread, because I am aware that I'm my kitchen countertop, but there's nothing I can do about it. And this is just my existence, and I just exist here to be a countertop. And I just remember just feeling intense dread that this is what existence is. And then it's like I get sucked back out of it, as if like how the floor split open and I fall into like all these dimensions, and then it's like I'm like yanked out of it, as with like I had a rope tied to me, and it just pulls me back, and I come back to reality, and just left completely shooken. I feel like my body is completely soaking wet, but there's not a drop of sweat on me. That was a really bizarre feeling. One of the weirdest. I've always heard that from people that smoke salvia. You just feel this like you're soaking wet, but you're completely dry. But man, and I smoked salvia quite a few times after that, but probably after, I don't know, probably 10 times, which is definitely 9 at the very least too many times. I was completely done with this insane, with this. I thought this fucking wasn't recording. Oh my god, I was about to be so mad. But yeah, I was really over this drug. I feel like this drug really kind of it was definitely baptismal by fire, as far as like jumping into the psychedelic drug scene goes. I mean, like, compared to like LSD, mushrooms, peyote, any of the other, like, regular psychedelics people talk about, fucking salvia is just on a whole nother level. This It's like they're not even on the same. It's like, here's like the other psychedelics are somewhere over here, and then salvia is like up here in the corner, like on a completely different graph. Like, it doesn't even make sense what it does to your brain. But that stuff really left me shook for a while, and it really left me kind of like messed up in my head a bit for a while, I think, especially at that young age. I was still, like I said, I was only 18 years old. Like, your brain's still kind of developing. I think you're like 22, and I think that might have like left maybe some PTSD on me, just like the overbearing thought of dread of being an inanimate object. And like I said, I smoked a few other times, and there are other times where I turned like, another time I turned into a television, or another time I turned into like a closet door. It just, like, things just don't make sense. But yeah, that was my experience with salvia, and that is definitely the scariest drug I've ever done in my entire life. And if you ever come across that drug, I would just stay away from it. It's illegal now, and I haven't seen it since it became illegal. I don't think there's anyone out there peddling salvia, because it's so fucking crazy. Nobody wants to touch it. But yeah, man, salvia, that stuff is messed up. But yeah, I just wanted to share a video with you guys. I don't know, like, I got a bunch of fucked up drug stories. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I did drugs for a long fucking time. I got a lot of these stories, so I'm thinking about maybe starting to push these out on the channel. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think about it. That was my first one, and that was the first take, so I know it wasn't the best, but hopefully they'll get better. But I'd love to hear some feedback, guys, and everyone have a good night, and peace out.